Let me just real quickly. Okay. I'd like to make a note that I'd like to add to today's agenda under new business a possible or discussion and possible vote on approving Gail's continued efforts on the bookmobile solicitation or the bookmobile project, whatever we want to call it. Outside of that, can I get a motion to approve the March 24th agenda as amended?
I'll make that motion.
Barbara, thank you. And a second?
Second.
Emily, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda consisting of the December 6, 2023 meeting minutes, the pending deposited gifts report, and statistical reports as submitted? Once again, can I get a motion?
I move.
Thank you, Emily.
Second.
Okay, and Sharon? And all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Nay? Okay, and I think we are good. We'll jump right into the meeting. First off, public comment. I don't see anybody. Just a quick check. Okay. So we'll jump into the report from friends, and we have both Ruth and Clay today, so we're honored with a heavy presence there. Great. Ruth, are you?
Okay, can you hear me? All right. So we are actively working on getting ready for our book drive, which will be Saturday, February 17th from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. We are constantly clearing the mezzanine area with some adjustments for both our book drive and for library operations. Our book sale is set for April 4th, 5th, and 6th, because now the library is open on Sundays. We will be having a bag sale on Sunday, and we're working on getting our announcements out for the sale. Recent communications with the library have been about the Friends working to clear out Friends and apparently some personal items that are down in the special collections area of the old stacks. And we've been working with Ben, the branch manager, on that. And that's kind of a continuing process because it's unclear what may be still personal items and what belongs to the library, what the library is taking on. So it's kind of ongoing. If there's any questions, let me know.
Anyone questions for Ruth? Sounds good. Thank you, Ruth. Then we'll move on to Susan for a report on the foundation.
Good morning. The foundation is delighted to share that we have achieved a platinum seal of transparency from Candid GuideStar for 2024, which is a significant move up from gold. It includes metrics and other data, which is beneficial for donors and other library supporters. So we're excited about that. That's the big news. We'll be deferring to the library report for details on Mellon throughout the course of that grant. Thank you.
Okay, any questions for Susan? One thing I'm going to mention, we're in a new year. So for those of us who are looking at it saying, oh, you know, different calendar year, it's a great time to think about making any contributions that you personally want to make to the foundation. I try to remember to do it at the beginning of every year kind of a thing. And I think I've had to call Susan before and say, did I do it yet this year? But it's a great thing to see if we can get some support from everybody at some level. Doesn't have to be big, but some level. Okay. Okay. Scott, admin?
All right. I'll give you a quick update on Mellon. We did the press release and had got lot of good impact from promotions. So in the back, there's a article that appeared in, I think it was ABC, and Ben and Chloe have fielded a lot of calls, people asking for more information and telling more about it. The television story, what did we get, like 12 people come in right after it to start working on their personal histories and start to convert things. We're seeing requests to use the Memory Lab pickup, so we're navigating those. We're making new discoveries. We're learning all along the way, and so that information is helpful. But it's going great in terms of like the broadcast and people hearing about it. So that's been great. We had a meeting earlier this month, kind of talking about logistics, how we want to roll out things in the first year, second year throughout the course of the grant. So we're putting in groundwork for that. So I'll keep reporting back as we make progress on that, and have a lot of good news to report on that. So you'll notice in my report, starting on page 7, we've been doing a lot of hiring. I think since the middle of November, we've hired approximately 18 people. So that is a lot of people, and that's coming through on, that will directly translate into more hours. We were able with these people to begin, go to page 8, you'll see the hours that we've added in. So main library, Ginter Park and West End are now open on Sundays from 1 to 5. We started that last weekend. We've also been able to open the main library and West End at 9 a.m. So earlier start time. So we're piloting that, seeing how that's going to work. And if you'll notice, it's a pretty significant impact. We've gone from 412 hours a week to 440 hours a week. So I really want to commend staff. It's been a very big job hiring that many people, because in a great way, we've promoted many people into positions, and that helps us keep people and improve our workforce. The other thing, though, is it just makes another hole. So then we have to go and fill that. We have to recruit another person. So of those 18, I have to fill 10 more positions. So we're ended up hiring about 25 to 30 people at the end of the day. And then we've had some natural transitions. We had a couple long-term employees retire. Barbara Booth, the manager at Belmont, retired in December, and Delta Macklin, 32-year employee, retired at the end of December as well. So we wish them the very best and are grateful for all they've done for the library. So operational hours, hiring. The new logo, you'll notice you have a little pin in front of you. And this is the logo you all approved in December. It's really fantastic. So we're updating all of the places where you'll see the library logo, and we've just had a lot of positive feedback on it. Lastly, I want to applaud our outreach and engagement group. We have Black History Month coming up, and it's probably one of the most attractive advertising things I think we've done. And so if you check your what's happening, there's a whole list of things that will be happening next month, so we're excited about that. And then lastly, I want to point out statistic-wise, circulation is ticking up. We have increases across the board. I'm pleased to see Broad Rock was one of the leader in the branches. They're about 17% year over year for the same month. Main libraries coming up. The astonishing thing is that on page 11, if you look at our electronic checkouts, we checked out 69,000 items in December of 23, and in December of 21, we checked out 37,000. So that's about an 80% increase in circulation for electronic items. And I think next month, we'll probably surpass all of the checkouts we did in 21. So I think we're really moving in the right direction on that. I think some of our locations that have lower circulation will increase with the added hours. So you're going to see circulation increase. The one thing I've been tracking lately is door counts. Those those aren't happening those aren't increasing like I'd like to see. So hopefully over the next year, as we increase hours and do some refreshes of our branches and our spaces, we make those more welcoming, and we try and we continue with facilities to improve what we're offering our patrons in our spaces. So I think that is everything.
Can I just make a quick comment?
Mm-hmm.
I love the section where it's good news from all of the branches.
Mm-hmm.
Thank all the staff that put that in, because that gives me something then to mention when I'm at lunch with someone, or, I just, that's a positive addition to my knowledge.
Other comments or questions, anything? I think we all know this, but I will mention that those hours, so wonderful to get those Sunday hours, and a lot of people put hard work in to get both the funding and the staff together for that. Blonde Rock is shown in there. They'd already had those Sunday hours, so it didn't affect theirs, but that means that 4 out of our 9 branches are now open on Sundays. So I think that's, you know, and we, when you first glance at it, when you say, well, we've got this opened up, that opened up, and so on, Southside seemed a little neglected it, and you have to remember that Blonde Rock has been open. That was really our first priority to get open there. So I think that's very positive. I also have the same concern about door count a little bit, but seeing how much the electronics going up is just, I think, showing some of that. People are using it more that way, possibly for the average. We're seeing more electronic books checked out than physical books percentage-wise than we
Although,
used to.
I know I always whine about this. So sorry, but when I go to get a new book, the only choice is an electronic book. There is no hard copy book. Now, after a period of time, there often is the hard book. So when there's only one choice and you want the hot new book,
Okay.
why wouldn't electronic be going up?
Some of us just don't like
You know,
electronic books.
why wouldn't it go up? Yeah.
Some of us wait for the paper copy still. So.
Yeah, that's
It's an
true.
age thing, Chris.
That's
at
true.
least
What
with
I
me.
don't want is people then to go to Libby Mill.
Which is what some of us are
Which is
doing.
what people do,
And it is
yeah.
unfortunate. It's a budget issue more than anything.
I don't know
or-
that it's a budget issue.
I mean,
In some respects, I mean, if you look at our physical book circulation, it is increasing. That's the one thing I checked. I went through almost everybody's physical book, and that is increasing. The thing that we have been doing over the last year is weeding our collections. We have a lot of books on the
But
shelf.
that's got to be done.
Sure.
I am a supporter of weeding.
Right.
Yeah.
I think
But that
Chris
had
is
been
specifically
neglected.
talking about the new releases. Let me ask, do new releases get out faster to us electronically than paper? I mean, is that at all part of the issue, that it takes time to get the physical book in, process it, versus just flipping a switch in Cersei saying, hey, we've got it electronically?
Well, we're monitoring that really closely. So yes, electronic books are gonna instantaneous.
Yeah.
Our physical books, it's not a processing issue. Our physical books are coming in mostly processed. So they will hit our door and probably be out. We're striving for a 24-hour turnaround. And so new books are coming in a 24-hour turnaround. I believe that some of the books we're getting electronic-wise over physical, because I'm not sure why, but I'll look into it. It's
Well,
not.
I'll start making a list, because it occurred to
Please
me, I
do.
should be making a list of this, because,
Right.
yeah. I get
So-
Wowberry and I go, oh, I want that one. Oh, I can only get it electronically. Well,
So let me ask you this, are you seeing it is it on order record that you're seeing and not placing a
No.
hold? So it's a book that's on a list, you're going to it, and
so I say, I
the
want this
physical
book,
version's
and the
not here.
only choice is an electronic
Okay.
copy.
So we'll look into that, because we have the resources to do that. It's just sometimes maybe our sources that we're using to predict, so Publishers Weekly, Baker and Taylor, Ingram, they have advance, and so we'll try and get on the list for those advance items, and there'll be books that get published that we miss.
Right.
But most of the time, I would say 95% of the time, we're getting those. So we'll look into why that is. Maybe we're not getting them in the right numbers, So that's all things that we can fix because we have the budget to do it. So
I
we
will sit there and say, I am one data point. I'm not a trend. I am one little data point, so, but it is my experience.
No, and I want to know that because if you're having it, you're an indicator of what's happening across the board. So let's see what's going on. So those are one thing that we've really worked hard on is our collection development, technical services, processing. We don't like to see things sitting on carts in our tech area. We're really doing our best to make sure we're nailing and responding to the needs of what people are looking for. So, excuse me. But that's good to know. Thanks for sharing that.
And the other thing I was going to mention about door count is as more programs come on to pull
Oh, yeah.
people in, and as the weather shifts a little bit, you get more people out, I think.
Right. As we add people, as we add hours, we'll be able to do more things in
Do
those
more
spaces.
outreach.
So you'll see the door count start to tick up. And you'll see people then, once they come to those programs, they'll discover that, wow, we have comfortable spaces. And that's something we need to work on. Our spaces need to be refreshed and more comfortable in meeting those needs, so.
Okay, very good. Anything else for Scott? We don't have any report from Garrett, right, on advocacy today? He didn't? No, okay.
No, we don't have her.
Okay, just making sure. Chris, if we can jump over to you in early learning literacy.
I don't have much to say except for that Scott and Beth are planning a 2024. I feel like we are moving well on staff. We got grants in so that we can at least double our summer interns. Although we have such a rallying cry from our branches, we'll have to figure out how to get a little bit more money so that we can do better than 4. Programming is going well. The new thing we're undertaking is looking at our children's space, not only at Maine, but at all of the branches. And I had a conversation recently with Cabell Foundation. They might be interested in a refresh of the branches. Nothing major like what we need in Maine, but that's the third leg of the stool that we're working on as it relates to children. We've got staffing, we've got programming, we're gonna add a space component to it.
That's excellent. It's exciting, actually. Sort of buried the lead there at the beginning. That really is an exciting thing to be looking
Well,
at.
it's good strategic thinking. You know,
Yes.
what do you need to do to serve the children of Richmond?
It is.
And then just making sure that you're always trying to do more. Yeah.
Okay.
One thing I would like to add is, Chris is correct. We've filled many of the vacant positions that had been unfunded, so the budget
Yeah,
provided us
exactly
to do
right.
that. So we've added people here at Maine and at branches. We've also elevated all of our youth service associates. So at each branch, we have a youth service associate who does story time and children's program. Those are associate positions. Over the last 2 months, we've elevated those to librarian positions. So that position's no longer a paraprofessional or like it's a higher level position. So now we require an MLS to activate in that position. So
Yeah, and we expect more of them.
yes, we expect more.
We expect more.
Yep, and they're going to be able to deliver that. So it's really exciting to be able to elevate the knowledge, skills, and abilities and the requirement for those positions across the board.
We have come a long way in
It's
the
huge.
past 14, 15. We have come a long way, and it's been deliberate, and I'm just super happy.
Yeah, that's been something I've wanted to do since I came here.
That's true.
And
That's true.
It's going to make a difference. So, and I know after Beth and I went and met with all of the librarians, all of the associates who are moving into librarian positions, and had really positive conversations with them and their managers, and that is going to really activate what we're doing in terms of youth services and fulfill that goal. So that's exciting. Yeah.
And we should all thank ourselves because we're
Yes.
the people who push this, so.
Yeah.
Okay, from my perspective, a couple of things I wanted to touch on. One, I think the early literacy is we've hit it pretty heavily already, but had a great year. It's really set up to be doing even more in 2024, and I think continue going from there. And I think that has elevated or increased the awareness of the library and the image of the library, and that it's sort of rippling through to the non-early, those of us who don't fall into that youth or even have kids that are those ages anymore, are hearing things and seeing things, and it's just positive feedback. So, you know, that's a nice benefit. It's not the reason we're doing that, but it's nice that it is having that effect. So let's say I wanted to mention that I think that's gone well. I think advocacy is a little slowed for the moment, and we need to take a look and see what we need to be doing in the next 6 or 8 weeks. You know, I think we need to look at the operating budget as the primary advocacy for this coming year. The renovation here, I think everything that we can do to keep that moving is probably being done right now. If people have other ideas there, let's just get them out and talk about them. But I don't think there's a whole lot we can do to move that forward, particularly in an election year and with the recent publicity about the John Marshall Courts building and the effect that that may have on capital budgeting for the moment. I think our efforts are much better focused on getting more in that operating budget that lets us maybe move from 4 to 6 or 8 interns, you know, some of those types of things that we can focus on. And I'll talk to Garrett and see if we can start putting that, and Sharon, see if we can start putting that plan together as we go into the talks about budgeting for the coming year here. We need to get on that fairly quickly. Anyway, those are the main things that I had to say. Scott, did you want to talk finance in Garrett's absence?
The city has, I mentioned it last month, they were looking at bumping back the introduction of the budget from March 6th to the end of March, so that has happened. So there'll be about an extra 30 days until the mayor introduces his budget. Next week, the mayor will do his state of the city that's on January 30th. So he'll give you a sneak peek, I think, of what he's planning to do, and review his scorecard of things that have been accomplished and some of the things that he wants to wrap up. So that will be a great indicator as to what will be coming in the end of March. Just provide, at this point with finance and budget, just providing information on where we're at, where we anticipate being, impacting, what these hires will do to our operating budget, trying to forecast what we will need in the future and make recommendations based on the strategic plan. So that's really what we've been working on with, in terms of finance. We're a little bit behind in our budget. If you looked at the budget report, it's at about 40%. I'd like to be closer to 50% at this time. And it's really attributed to the hiring lag. So it's taken us longer to get the people in place, but we're hiring a lot of people. So I fully anticipate that percentage to increase and be on target by the end of the year. Operationally, we've been able to, we're steadily spending those funds down. So that's really where we're at. We'll know more in February.
Okay, thank you. Gail, you've been just sort of sitting quietly listening. Would you like to give us facilities and also a little report on the potential bookmobile project?
Yes, Happy New Year, everybody. There is no facilities report specifically. We've been focusing on the last couple months on the proposal to apply for a federal community funding project grant and focus on a dedication to Don McEachin, who was a avid library user and obviously a former House of Representatives delegate. And the bookmobile that idea was generated by Bill, and we decided to move forward with what's turning out to be a lot of research done by Jen Dool, who has submitted to us extraordinary reports and summaries from multiple jurisdictions. She first targeted Henrico and spoke to several people there, saw their vehicles, got a lot of good tips from them. And one main topic and decision that will have to be made is the kind of vehicle and how it's powered. And we thought we should, it's the time to investigate an e-vehicle. And she contacted 2 California libraries that have e-vehicles, and she received a lot of good information from them. And more recently, she attended, I assume by a Zoom conference, a group from the Rocky Mountain area of 14 libraries that have bookmobiles, and gained a lot of good information from that. I summarized a couple of the common issues. She submitted a multi-page report about that meeting. So I don't want to minimize anything, but some of the issues that I noted here are coming up in every conversation. You can't do enough research, I think, is the main message from some of these groups, and scheduling, and obviously the maintenance aspect, and who do you outsource that to a facilities group, or does your on-site municipal maintenance group handle those kinds of things? So there's a lot to be determined in addition to just the vehicle itself and its mission. And we want to, for instance, Henrico has multiple vehicles to accommodate different missions. The common example is STEM versus early childhood learning, or accommodating special, they call them information deserts, of parts of the city that might not be currently accommodated by a branch library. So we want to focus on early childhood literacy and attention to underserved communities. And Jen thinks that services could also include book delivery or return, Wi-Fi, homework help, and job assistance. So they're the kinds of things that the librarians have found a need for across the city, for which a bookmobile might be able to accommodate. I have contacted multiple times Jan McClellan's office, I guess from paranoia that I've missed the deadline or something. They told me initially that January, the guidelines for the grant would be released. And it's now that we're in the 3rd week of January. I called Maren Campbell the other day to ask her about the status. And she said that we clearly are on the distribution list. So she confirmed that, but they have not been issued yet. So we're awaiting those so we can finish gathering our information. We're going to have to get detailed costs of the kind of mobile that we want to invest in, and provide all that information to them. So I would like to make a motion to propose that we focus on a bookmobile as the purpose of the grant proposal for the community project funding grants at the federal level. And
Gail,
yes.
I'm going to stop you. I'm just going to stop you for 1 second there.
Yeah.
And come and ask you, I think we want to have that motion. Unfortunately, we need to do it as part of new business.
Okay, sorry. Okay.
So if you don't mind, I'm just going to sort of put you on hold for a minute on that. Let's go through the rest of the meeting agenda and then come back to that.
Does anybody
before
have
we
any
leave
questions
this-
first before I sign off?
Excuse me?
Are
ahead.
there any questions for me?
I was going to suggest, ask that, and also point out if you didn't notice that a lot of those details that Gail's talking about are in that short report there. But yeah, Chris.
Do we need to, and this is truly a question, Gail.
Yeah.
Do we need to have it be, we want a bookmobile and we want to pursue sources of funding to include federal? And that way it gives us the opportunity to look at other funders? Or does this need to just be a federal initiative?
I don't think, well, that's a good question. I don't think it needs to be only a federal initiative. I just want to move forward with the federal approach because of our connection with Don McEachin, and I think it's appropriate for us to honor him through that kind of grant. Seemed to be the most logical source. But if that's not successful, certainly or at the same time, simultaneously, if there are other opportunities for those kinds of grants, I think it would be a great idea to pursue that. It's interesting that you bring that up because I did notice in Jen's reports that most of the jurisdictions had budgeted for the bookmobile. So it wasn't, they didn't pursue grant opportunities, but always I think it's worth pursuing and would like your help and suggestions on that.
Okay, other questions for Gail on that? Like I said, we'll come back to the actual.
But you get my point.
I get your point and agree completely.
yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Because there are
Okay,
always
and
going to
we'll
be
hit this when we actually
funding
take a vote
needs.
on that as new business. But my feeling, and Gail and I talked about this the other day, is that with probably not necessary for us to make a motion and approve it at this particular point, but that there's no harm in doing that. And that I think as a library, as a board of trustees for the library, we're somewhat, I won't say we're committed to doing this, but we're committed to doing this if funds can be found to do it. I mean, we're not going to cut other programs in order to do it right now. But assuming that we can find the funds, we'd like to say, yes, we're committed to doing this.
And say yes, that we're committed to Gail being the lead in the federal initiative. Yeah.
Exactly, that, and also enough flexibility in there for adjusting if somebody wants to come in and do one that's dedicated to STEM. In addition to that, fine. I think it's sort of the concept here, but letting Gail run with it as the lead on that, both at the federal and working with Jen Dool on the overall research of it. So no, I'm completely with you on that, Chris, and I think you brought up a very good point. So we'll, just a couple of minutes here, we'll be at the point of making a motion on that and proving it, okay? That actually leaves Emily. Anything on governance?
I don't have an update today, but I did have a little check-in. I just wanted, since we're in 2024, wanted to remind everyone that this year we will be saying goodbye to one member, Ms. Barbara Burton. Her term will end in June, so we will be recruiting for one position on this board. There are 3 other positions that are up for reappointment. And I believe the clerk's office, boards and commissions will be reaching out to those folks probably soon. I believe that last year when I was reappointed, it was December, January when I heard from them. So it may be soon. Since I've been on the board, everyone has accepted reappointment, but if there is any, if anyone anticipates that they will not accept reappointment, give us a heads up just so that we can kind of calculate for that when we're thinking about recruiting. Related to that, I thought that we as a board, now I'm just kind of throwing this out there, we as a board may want to have a discussion before, say, springtime about what skills we think like what we're doing well on this board and maybe where we would want to recruit. I know that, informally, either in this meeting or just in discussions outside of this meeting, I've heard bits and pieces about kind of what skills some of you all would like to see, but I think maybe having that discussion so that we can, one, be prepared to review applications when they come in, but also think about our contacts and our networks and who we might encourage to apply to a board position when it's available, either this year or in the future. I think that would be a really good way to prepare. So I don't have, I'm not sure what to do with that. I just wanted to kind of throw that out there as a check-in.
Let's open that up to further discussion either now or at the next meeting. I would say that we did this a couple years ago, and it's time to do it again. But that was very successful when we did that a few years ago. We looked for people with some experience on the facilities side, knowing some of the things that were going on there. We looked for experience on the finance side, because we lost a board member who had been leading the finance committee. We looked for people who had exposure to RPS because we're looking at tightening that relationship a little bit or doing what could be done in that area. And those were just examples. There may be many other things that we need to look at, but those were three things that before leaving the board, David jumped in and really did a thorough
very
search.
responsive.
He really did a search to come up with a group of names, and we really want to have a group of names to choose from rather than, well, here's someone who's willing to serve, okay? So I think that's critical for us. So Emily, thank you for bringing that up. I don't have any unfinished business. Scott, do you have any? Okay, that brings us, Gail, to your,
Here we go.
long delay there, but to making a motion for that. And Johnny, you'll get down whatever wording, right? Okay. So does anyone want to, Chris, you seem to have a good handle. You want to propose wording?
This is a problem when I shoot my mouth off, you know?
If not, I'll say something, but.
Let me throw this out and you guys make it better. That the trustees wish to pursue a bookmobile and sources of funding for that bookmobile, including federal sources. Gail, make it better.
I think that's good. I
I'm going to
drafted
suggest
some
we
language
add
in mind.
a bookmobile program,
Okay.
because I think that gives us a broader
Yeah, sure.
on that.
Sure.
And I think that, I forgot what my second thing was. It must not have been very important.
I
So-
probably was.
I doubt that. But anyway, the program, and I like your idea of Gail leading that.
Oh, I think that's a must.
It is a must. And Gail, we've got you through at least the following June, right? Your term
Yeah.
doesn't expire this year, right?
I don't know. I was going to ask Emily after by email
I
if
think
my
we can
term
get
is up.
A request to
Renew.
indicate interest in reappointment this year.
Okay.
So
The
Gail,
other
that means
thing we'll have to add is Gail can work on this with or without being on the board.
That's
of
true, she can, but
trustees.
we'd love to have her stay. So, oh, just a little something to think down the road there, Gail.
Okay. Thank you.
So the wording, Gail, did you have additional things you'd like to add to the wording?
And I included in my draft language the dedication to Congressman McEachin, but I don't think that's necessary for a general bookmobile program. That would be relevant for the federal grant only.
Right. I mean, I think we can
Yeah.
express a desire that the
I was
feds.
gonna say, I like that
Right,
element.
that
So
the feds.
that's your call.
And
I
that
like
we'd be
yeah.
honored, you know, we would love to honor Congressman McEachin within that. But I do think that the program and the idea that it is evolving and will be able to evolve based upon funding sources, applications, what interest is shown from different groups, et cetera, is important. So let's leave that. Once again, my thinking on this is we're showing that we're committed to that concept. We've got a great leader to do that, and we'd love you to run with it as fast as you can, despite the hip operation. So hard to run, I know, Gail, right now. But we'd like you to.
Right. It's getting better.
Okay. Jonna, do you need to read something back to us, or from what we've talked about, can we just take a vote on that?
Can
We
I
need-
ask, can I ask something
Okay, hold on a second.
Can I ask something before we start? I just want to be clear. This is going to be a commitment to start a new program. So the purchase of this vehicle and this activity is going to be, we will be adding this to our outreach services. So that's where we're going with this, okay? I want to be clear on that.
I think
Well,
I would.
you inspired it when you talked about you and Reggie going to all of the communities that had no reach to a library. I
Right.
mean, I think you're the catalyst for this kind of thinking. And it was important to me when you talked about it.
Yeah, so
I
I
think
just,
two things I would say this, Scott. We're not committing to doing this unless we can get the funding. Okay, so we're not, once again, we're not going to cut from Chris's early literacy initiatives or book purchases or anything out there to do
So
this.
maybe we need the word feasibility in there or something that
To-
gives Scott,
Yeah, I don't want to be reductive. I want to be.
no.
Right,
no,
I wanna-
right.
yeah.
This
I
is an
wanna be
addition.
additive,
This
and-
is,
But we want to be businesslike as we make these
We do.
decisions.
Right,
So,
and I just
and
want to
we
be,
recognize there's gonna be staff involved. I mean, this is not just to buy the box, you know, this isn't get a bus outfitted this way and it's magically going to get from places and stay
Right,
stocked
right.
and have programs and so on. That's,
I just
we
want to
are
be
gonna
clear
have to
that
come up
we're
with staffing.
restarting a bookmobile program, because it's something we used to have. And so to me, I view this as we're restarting that program and we're going
Okay.
to pursue it full
Okay.
force.
okay.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
are you comfortable with this?
Okay.
Yeah.
I was going to say, we support you, we work
Correct,
with you.
right.
So you're okay with it?
Yeah, I support it, staff supports it. We feel and see the need. So I just want to be clear so that when we go to the city and say operationally, this is how we're responding and this is a need. So this is what we're doing. We're seeking funding for the one-time purchase. And we're going to need support going forward for
Gotcha.
operational and staffing purchases. And so this enables us to do that.
Gotcha.
Absolutely.
Okay?
Right. And I think it's important when you go to them and say that we recognize, and Gail will give us more as this evolves, but the many reasons that we're doing this.
That's
I
right.
think the early literacy is a critical one on this. This gets there. I think those book deserts, if we want to use, you know, sort of that as a word, the difficulty, the areas that are trouble with that. But I think it's also an outreach to getting people in those areas to say, oh, this is different than the library that I last went into in 1990 was. And it's worth me coming 1.25 miles over to the library. I don't think this is going to be, to me, this isn't the bookmobile that I grew up with.
Right.
That just brought books because people couldn't get to it. This is doing the STEM programs, doing the early literacy programs, just bringing exposure. So it's really reaching out to the least advantaged portion of our population in a way that bookmobile did not do back before it was shelved, you know, years ago.
I just wanted to be clear on that to make sure we're all on the same
No,
page.
we appreciate
We
that.
do.
We appreciate that.
Okay.
Okay?
Emily, I think Emily had something. Did you raise your
Go
hand?
ahead.
Okay.
Oh, I
sorry.
did, no, I forgot what it was.
Okay.
I think you probably answered it, yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Jonna? You're good? That's probably good because I'd also like to have a full 9-member board to vote on it to say we've got 100% support of the Board of Trustees. So like to make a motion that Jonna proceed with
We'll work.
drafting the wording and putting this on next month's meeting agenda.
Okay.
So I had just basically put down, trustees wish to pursue sources of funding for a bookmobile program. And we can put that together and wordsmith it for next month and come back to the board, and it could be under unfinished business.
But I think it's important to have what Chris said about Gail's going to lead it. I think we should have in here so that she, when she talks to people, has maybe something a little more marketable.
That she can say,
Yeah.
I've been designated the,
And that we want to do this because it's going to support early literacy in this fashion. It's going to support the ability to take programs out to the community. I mean, I can even envision this as an example, tightening the relationship with RPS. That if you have someone who's, you know, you put together a STEM program that they can take out and show up in the parking lot and, you know, bring the second graders out to do it. You know, I'm particularly attuned to that right now, having looked, and my wife and I were talking the other night, as y'all know, she's a teacher, and her class looking at going to the Science Museum. You know, to take kids to the Science Museum, basically you're looking at $10 plus $4 if you want per kid, $4 to have someone talk to them about a program, $4 if you want to do, you know, these are limitations. You realize, you know, when you look at parents being asked to send in 18 or 22 bucks to get a kid to one of these, we can help do some of that and get them exposed in some of those kind of ways, I would hope. So I think we need to bring that up. Other things that, Gail, you have word language there that you can see what you're going to pitch to Jen McClellan in her office, what Susan may help you with if we need to go out to other sources. But maybe you can work with Jana to put that language in there?
Okay.
Okay.
Definitely, it's going to be a collaborative project, and I think because this would be 2025 funding, a grant next year, technically, we'd have to work on city government budgeting to make sure that all the needs for staffing, et cetera, are included in our budget.
I think
So
they're talking fiscal year 25, which starts in October.
right. Okay,
Not
good point.
calendar year 2025.
Right.
So if we got in there in the fiscal 25, starting after October, I would think we would be able to work on the funding issues from the staff side to start in the June budget. By the time we'd actually get to the point of ordering something and stuff, we'd probably be at the right timing, maybe. I would hope.
Right.
Particularly if we want to try to go with a battery electric vehicle, that's probably not going to be something that we would be able to get in November of next year if the money suddenly became available. That's a little.
Keeping in mind, Congress has not been able to pass a budget yet.
Yes.
So, and you can't do a new start unless you have a new budget.
I'm saying I don't
So,
think
yeah.
we're going to get the approval from the feds before we can approach
Yeah,
it
I was
with the
gonna
city,
say,
is what I'm saying. We're not going to, we're not going to that problem, unfortunately. Okay, so can I ask for a motion to draw that? Jana, you need a motion that we approve having Jana
I
draft
move that Jana be in charge. Yeah.
and draft that for next month's review at next month's meeting, review and voting on at next month's meeting. So Chris, and we need a second?
Second.
Okay, and Sharon second. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, nay? Okay. Is there any other new business we didn't have on anything anyone wants to bring up before we adjourn?
Just want to say, I'm not sure how we're advertising, all the things going on, I know some of them, but there are like, district, whatever, I know you're sending them out to the, district, city council people, but things like there's a new South Richmond News that just starting, things like that. I believe there's a Churchill newsletter that's electronic. They reach a lot of people, in different areas of Richmond have their own little newsletters. I was wondering if we could attach, our seasonal booklet or, the Black History activity, the listing should go out. This South Richmond one is new, so it's going to be kind of hot off the press, so people might grab it up and. South Side is a very neglected place in Richmond, and I just anything we can do to get the word out over there and all over Richmond, please do it.
That's a good suggestion.
It is.
Thanks.
Yes. And Scott, you've got a good team working on that, so if you
Super
could
team.
task them to make sure
Yeah.
that they're including those new publications and also all the electronic groups that come up, that's nice to join in there. Okay, other thoughts, anyone else before we wrap up? And I'm gonna ask for a motion to adjourn. Okay, in a second, looks like Emery just raised, okay, all in favor, aye? We are